Good evening. My name is Jerry Tresser. I developed the Liquid Gesso, a non-poisonous, as close to the original formula as you possibly can get. And I'd like to share little pieces of information with you that will help you along when it comes to the application process. There are 3 different sizes. You have 1/4 ounce, 1/2 ounce, and full ounce. To use the gesso is very simple. All you need to do is to get it and stir it around once received and apply it. It's in the application stage that becomes somewhat critical, because here, when you're dealing with plaster, the gesso actually has to be moved around. And the only way that you can do that successfully is by pushing the gesso onto your object from the inside out. Now, this process is called puddling. So what we are doing actually is we're puddling the gesso until you get to a nice creamy solution and you've reached the end of the area that you intend to cover. Once you have done so, then you actually end up with the gesso once dry, which may take 24 to 48 hours. It really depends on the amount of gesso that you put on there. But it dries seamlessly. And once dried, of course, there are things you can do with it. And one of the nice things about that is that you can shape it, scrape it, sand it. There are many different things that you can do with this gesso. So just to give you an idea, this is an extra fine sandpaper. And what I like to do is, once dry, I like to sand it. And after I sand it, I polish it. And by polishing, I use a lipstick shape burnisher. And that becomes really quite important, because what you want to do is to get a shine on that gesso. And once you get the shine, that's letting you know that you can apply the gold, and the gold will shine as well. So there are options that are open to you when it comes to gilding the size before you actually put on the gold. In other words, we want to prepare the gesso to receive the gold, but we want it to be blemish free. And the only way that that's going to work is if you polish out any small minor imperfections that may exist on the gesso. Aside from that, once the gesso has been polished and you are very happy with the way it looks, at that point you can breathe on it and apply the gold, and it takes it very nicely. The gesso, the liquid gesso, can be refrigerated when not in use. It can be housed in a refrigerator for several months. However, every now and then you may run into a situation where you begin to lose some of its quality because of its use. And at that point, we highly recommend using a couple of drops of aged glaire to revitalize it a little bit. And this will make all the world of a difference. One other final note. I enjoy using this particular product with a ruling pen. I've been using it this way for 20 years. You can also use it with a dip pen. If you want to write with it, then you would have to reduce the thickness of the gesso so that it becomes manageable. And that's the key to the whole thing. It really needs to be manageable in order to work with the tool that you're working with. The one tool that I would not recommend under any circumstance is a brush. And the reason for it is very simple. The brush contains ferrules, hair, and these pieces of hair that are on that brush can transfer all sorts of little minor imperfections, such as air pockets, onto the gesso. And when that happens, using a brush, regardless of how careful you may be, you're going to end up having a problem. So my suggestion would be to learn how to work with a ruling pen. It does a wonderful job. Work with a dip pen, and it'll take any kind of a dip pen. And finally, if absolutely necessary and no other option, then I would recommend using a brush, as much as I'm very much against it. That being the case, the Liquid Gesso is reasonably priced. And I would strongly suggest that you take a look at it, try to get some additional information. And we have a lot to offer insofar as how to work with it. And I hope this little video will help. Thank you very much.